All right, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Madness University. This is LZ. I'm here with Nick today, and we are going to cover just one topic today, and it's all around cases. Cases to put your cards in. And I know that the market is pretty big for this. There's many cases to choose from. So Nick and I are going to talk about maybe our favorite cases or maybe cases to use in certain situations. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to kick it off to you, Nick.
Mhm.
What what are kind of the cases you like to use? What do you want to tell us about cases today to educate the audience?
Yeah, so I promise this is exciting. All right. So this is very easy to screw up. If you want to send a $10,000 card to PSA, there's this very specific way you want to send that in a certain case. So this is situational for me. Now, if I'm sending a card out to somebody and it's through the mail and I want to get it autographed and it's going to get beat to crap, I just throw that in a card saver one. You can Google that or card saver two, anything like that that just kind of holds the card, just like a little something, right? It could probably still get bent, but for the most part, the card will be okay. It adds a little bit of support. You can get those at your local card show real easy. They're on eBay pretty cheap. So card saver one or two. If it's a tall boy, like if it's one of the taller cards, I believe that's card saver three or four. I'm not sure which one, but you can tell just by like looking at it if you Google it. So that's if you're like sending it. Now, there are magnetic cases, like one touch cases. That's a bit more like Fort Knox. So, for example, when I had a Michael Jordan rookie that I was sending to Beckett that was going to potentially be worth a ton of money, I threw it in a one touch. I wrapped the entire thing in painter's tape. And then I put it in a Ziploc bag, wrapped it in some more painter's tape, cardboard, and then you can only imagine what that thing looked like by the time it was packed up, right? I
Oh,
I do not
jeez.
envy the person that had to open
No.
that thing.
Mm-mm.
So that that is also a good option to display cards if you don't want to get them graded. It's pretty legit. It blocks the UV light.
Mhm.
It looks nice and sharp. It clicks right on. They got different sizes. So if you've got a card with a jersey or you've got a card that's just a regular base card, there's different point sizes, kind of like paper. It can be thicker or thinner. So that's another like a good case to have in your repertoire. And then there's there's this other category where they're not as protective, but they kind of work. I will use these at card shows like top loaders. Or if I'm going to get like a card signed at a game, I'll bring a few top loaders, just kind of stuff the card in, but I can get it out quick. So if I'm at the card show, I'll kind of, I'll get out the top loaders. I know they're kind of protected in my pocket. They probably won't bend, and you get them out. And then penny sleeves, I don't know. That's like the people who put plastic on their couches. It's a little extra protection for the card. You put a penny sleeve, you slip it in, it's protected. Then
Mhm.
you slip it in something else, so it's super duper double protected. I don't use them too often, especially TTM, because sometimes they'll sign the sleeve and not the card.
Oh yeah.
So
Hmm.
that's kind of what I use. That's what I use for cards in different situations.
Okay. I'm going to actually you covered a lot of the ones that I was going to cover. I mean, there's few categories here, but I'm actually just going to give feedback on a couple of these. I am against penny sleeves. Totally against penny sleeves. Because there is a real art to putting a card in a penny sleeve without damaging at least one of the corners. I've seen time and time again. I have done it where you're trying to put your card in the penny sleeve, and next thing you know, you dent one of the corners. So I actually stay away from it. It's just I don't need to do it. I know a lot of people do it, but I don't like taking on that additional risk.
How many times, be honest, has somebody signed either the sleeve or the case when you sent it out?
Oh, if I put it in, if I forget and I leave that penny sleeve on with a TTM, I would say it's probably 70% of the time they're signing the penny sleeve.
Yeah.
So
So
if you're
don't
doing
do it.
penny sleeves, stay away. Stay away,
I
everybody.
agree, Elsie. I agree.
Um, the next one that Nick covered was more of those magnetic cases, and they are great because they're easy to get your card in. A lot of them, as Nick said, they're UV protected. really nice. But the one caveat I have to using those is I only use those if I'm not planning on moving the card around. If it's being displayed, I agree. But if you have this like in one of your cases that you're bringing to shows, and the reason why I say this is, in my experience at least, the cards do not go in there like completely like perfectly. So they actually jiggle around a little bit in those cases. Now there's different sizes, like Nick said. So, maybe if you get the perfect size, it will fit just right. But I've seen in many cases those where if you're moving around, they're kind of moving around and jiggling. And again, you're going to be dinging up one of those corners. But really good if you have cards that you're just like, I want to display on a shelf and I want them protected. Um, Card Saver one is my favorite. I don't use penny sleeves with those, as I mentioned, but I love the Card Saver one because it's a little bigger. It gives you a little more room to just get your card in. And once it's in there, it doesn't move. It's just physics. I don't know if people are familiar with these, but it's if you're familiar with a penny sleeve, it's almost like, let's call it, three layers up from a penny sleeve. It's a thick plastic, and what I do is I kind of squeeze the sides, and my card will slide right in, but then it shuts, and physics takes over, and that card is not moving in that sleeve anymore. So I tend to use the card savers a lot. And the other thing too is they're very thin. So you can store a lot of them in your cases and in your boxes. So
Yeah.
that is definitely my preferred case. And I think the last one is stay away from the screw downs. You don't see screw downs very much anymore. That was big like in the 90s, probably early 2000s. But what we've seen is a lot of those cards actually get ruined from the screw down. And there's ways to fix it. Maybe one day we'll cover how to fix those, but stay away from the screw downs, everybody.
Yeah, they smush the card over
Yeah.
decades. They
Hmm.
smush it. So when you send it to get graded, it might look like a PSA 8 or 9 or 10, but they're going to say, nope, doesn't meet the specs for the card in terms of thickness. It is authentic, which will burn you because an authentic
Oh
is
yeah.
equivalent to like, I don't know, a 2 or a 3, something like
Hmm.
that. So you can get whacked. So yeah, no screw downs. Cool. All right. I think that covers the world of cases. What do you think?
I think it does. I think
All
we
right.
did a good job.
Excellent. Perfect. All
All right.
right.
Bye, everyone.